YouTube gang, what's up? It's your boy Jody Joe. Welcome to Jody's Corner. So glad to be with you. Hope you guys had a great weekend so far. There's some DC news, man. DC rises. It's some shocking news. Can you guys believe that what's being put out there is that this guy, James Gunn, the director and writer of the Superman movie, is already working on the sequel, has already finished the treatment to the sequel, and we already have a release year for the sequel. Right here, James Gunn's Superman sequel is expected to begin filming early 2026 for a July 2027 release. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is great news. I'm all over the place with this, guys. Let me keep it a buck with y'all. I'm all over the place with this, so I'm gonna try to formulate my thoughts. To see a director take the head of a universe, direct the first tentpole movie of said universe, that character being an A-lister in Superman, and then him getting a new treatment within 2 weeks, writing the treatment within 2 weeks, probably going to be finishing the script within a month or two, and then start beginning filming on that movie in early 2026 for a 2027 release when the movie just came out July 2025. If you look at that, that's like, wow, all right, that's passion. This fool's really trying to get it done. Like, yo, I got this pen just flowing. I'm like Biggie Smalls. And then as a fan, you're like, yo, this man really is passionate about the DCU. This man is really passionate about Superman. This man's really passionate about what's going on. From the outside looking in and from a certain perspective, I can see that. But from my perspective, it's a little bit different. You guys know how I feel about some of the things that he has said, more specifically that infamous Rolling Stone article where he said he only cares if Superman gets his piece of the pie. Iron Man wasn't the end-all, be-all of the MCU. He doesn't want a home run. He's fine with a double, a base hit. He's cool. If he just wants Superman to make $500 million, that's wildly successful. That's the successful margin. And there's a lot of cap with that. There's just a lot of cap with that I just don't agree with. I don't think that any creator of a DCU, a MCU, a Star Wars universe or whatever, I don't think a creator or the head of it should ever be okay with $500 million. You need to be shooting for the moon. I want $2 billion. I want $1 billion. But, we gonna go for as much as we want. That was like a red flag to me. I want Superman to make as much money as it can. Then when you look into the fact that James is shortening the theatrical release of Superman earlier than the 45 days, is because he wants Peacemaker 2 to be released and to be highlighted. He's shortening the theatrical box office and taking it out of theaters, sending it to streaming. By the way, Superman is currently on streaming video on demand. You can purchase the movie or you can rent the movie right now as we speak, which pretty much is gonna kill the box office for Superman because of Peacemaker season 2. I think that's whack. I think that's lame, and I'm not for that, and I don't agree with that. I think that's kind of, why would you kibosh your own movie from making the money when you are trying to promote something that's small fry like Peacemaker from a streaming service? And I'm not saying Peacemaker is small fry in the extent of no one cares about it. A lot of you guys love Peacemaker, and I understand that. But you have to understand, Peacemaker is small fry compared to any film in the DCU. It's small fry compared to Superman in the DCU. That's what I'm talking about. Then when you look at the news that David Cornswit was on the set with James and they had that clash. I did the video on my channel. Actually, I'll put that in the comment section down below. I'll put it in the description. You could just click the link and go to it. It's a full reaction. I had to do some edits to it. It's a full reaction of David Cornswit and James doing this on the set, where David's like, yo, I don't think it should be like this. This script, he's basically saying, this script is weak. This don't make no sense. And James is like, yes, it does. Yes, this. Only for James to take the L and delete it from the actual movie. So we're witnessing David being outwardly spoken about protecting the essence and the history that Superman is. And that's really tight to see, bro. So with all that being said, to see this news here of, I don't know if this is even real, right? What does James say? It's not real unless he confirms it himself. So, unless James said, but this is what I'm talking about, as if this is real. Because we already know that James said he already finished the treatment. He already finished the treatment. I think he said it was 60 pages long. So the treatment is done. Now he's just going to make a script out of that thing, a screenplay out of it. And I could imagine that'll only take him another couple of weeks. So for you to make, and one of the issues that I had with Superman was that the script is the biggest issue with Superman, guys. It's incredibly shallow. All the characters are shallow, surface level, as if James wanted to just throw the characters out you, throw them out there, have you like them based off of action, and no depth to any of the characters at all. David Corenswit was fantastic, but he wasn't fantastic in the sense of how deep his character was, because even Superman was kind of shallow himself. The only little issues that he went through was when the video device of his parents from Krypton basically being Viltrumite murdering savage Nazis, and he had to still decide to do what was right. So that's really the only thing that had some depth to who he was. But even him, he just run around saving people. Why do you save people? Because I think it's good. I do what I think is right. So like, that's cool, but there's no real depth to his character. So if I'm David Corenswit, I really need to look at that script. I really think that James needs to collaborate with David for this sequel movie that he's working on, so that David could give him more pointers on how to do this character properly, on some narratives. Hopefully Lois gets some depth. Hopefully Lex gets some depth, other than I hate you because you're alien and you're better than us. Hopefully other characters get some depth in this Superman sequel that's coming out, because in this first Superman movie there was so much meat just left on the bone. It's like when you have your, when kids, they get their fried chicken bone, they bite the skin off, you look at that bone, gang of meat. Son, there's a lot of meat on that bone. Finish that meat, whole bunch of meat on the Superman franchise after the first film. At this pace, I'm not even necessarily sure that after the trilogy is done, let's say James does a trilogy, at this pace, we're gonna be still hungry for more Superman after the trilogy's complete, because it doesn't really come off like he's really gonna go deep into the mythos of Superman. I'm not talking about villains. He'll throw a villain out there. He'll throw a cataclysmic event out there. But I'm talking about deep into the lore of who he is, what he stands for, the people around him, his relationships, his family, his children. He does end up having kids. I mean, it makes sense that Lois would be pregnant, because Lois already knows who he is. They're already in a relationship. They already said, I love you. They should be married by the sequel with her getting pregnant by Jonathan. Like, we move this thing along type. I wouldn't be surprised if Lois has Jonathan or is pregnant by Superman with Jonathan. Really, that's how I feel. So I feel like he's moving too fast. I feel like James is moving way too fast with this. A 2025 release, 2027 release for the sequel. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, wasn't there a slate that you announced, Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, that had all of these different films like Booster Gold and the Waller series that James says was not shelved, but clearly it was shelved? At this point, I could say I was right and he was lying on me. Anyway, The Authority that he was the writer on, that is now in the trash can because he's writing the sequel to Superman. And what's happening here is that he's the head of a studio and he's not going by his own freaking slate. He's not going by his own release dates. He's throwing in Wonder Woman to get fast tracked, which is great. Wonder Woman should have been on the original slate from jump. Should not have been no Authority. Even though some of the decisions that he's making are the right ones, it just goes to show you that he's not prepared. And I feel like is playing duck hunt. You see a duck? He's just trying to collect ducks. And I'm thinking to myself, like, hold on, James, chill. Let's get a plan here about overarching themes, certain characters, big bads that you want to introduce. I feel like none of that exists because he himself said if it has a good script, it's going to get fast tracked. Well, to the extent of that, plus he's going even further. He's bringing Wonder Woman's out the pocket. Superman 2, 2027? Bro, we're gonna get a, if I'm not mistaken, a Batman movie. The Batman Part 2 is coming out in 2027, and a Superman in 2027. So we're gonna get a Batman and a Superman, which have nothing to do with one another, because the Batman Part 2 is Elseworld, in another universe. So in 2027, we're gonna see Batman and Superman movies in the same year that have nothing to do with each other. Because why? Because the Matt Reeves debacle. Because, James wants to do a Batman, but the Batman movie is gonna be on pause and delay. I said this for a while, guys. I said I don't think we should expect the Batman until end of 2028, at the earliest 2029. That's what I'm thinking, because you can't release Batman movies in back-to-back years. That just doesn't make sense. A Batman in 2027, a Batman in 2028. The trailers, the marketing, that just doesn't work. You're gonna need a comfort zone of at least a year and a half in between these movies during to make it happen. So basically the DCU is like, just like how Snyder had it, bro. Snyder was just making up, oh, Man of Steel, wouldn't it be cool if we added Batman and did BVS? And then we did Doomsday, and let's kill him, and Kryptonite, Jimmy Olsen, blah 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 blah. Just throwing stuff at the fire pan to see what freaking sizzles. I just feel like he's moving too quick. He's moving without a plan. It's apparent to me. It's kind of obvious to me that he's just doing things on the fly, and that is not the way to run a movie studio. I think this is a mistake in the overall sense. I'm not necessarily saying that this is a mistake because it's Superman the sequel. People love Superman. The general audience especially loves Superman, and I'm glad of it. I'm glad that there's more Superman fans coming to DC, coming to the IP. Superman's one of the greatest heroes of all time, and I'm really happy that James was able to show people who didn't initially find that interest in Superman, who are basically like, you know what? I ain't really like Superman like that, but I'm feeling this guy. I'm like, cool, that's what I like to hear. But as DC fans, as Superman fans, as movie fans and stuff that want more than what we got from James Superman, there are some real concerns that need to be discussed. There's some real issues that need to be addressed. And the way he writes these movies, it just doesn't work for DC, because even though Superman is the type of character that you can MCU, but it's not the good MCU. In my opinion, James Gunn is the cultivator of the MCU formula. And I think that the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy is decent. But I think that James's MCU movies, that's Guardians 1, 2, and 3, are the bad things about the MCU that I don't like. I don't like the MCU formula. I like the MCU when it's doing its Iron Man 1, its Winter Soldier, its Civil War, its Black Panther, Endgame. I like it when it's doing that. I don't necessarily like when the MCU is becoming Guardians 1, Guardians 2, Guardians 3, Thor Love and Thunder, Thor Ragnarok, Ant-Man Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man, Captain Marvel. I don't like that MCU. I like the Marvel universe, the MCU, the legit stuff. So when James MCU's Superman, he's MCUing the bad part of the MCU that I like, that I don't like, into Superman. It's the Guardians of the Galaxy featuring Superman in DC. And that's not the type of MCU that I like. Now, if you were to Black Panther MCU, Winter Soldier, Civil War, this Superman, which I think would be a great director for Superman, or someone like Superman is like or a writer or producer is your Steven Spielberg's, your John Favreau's, your Joss Whedon's, Russo brothers, stuff like that. I think they'll do a great job with the Superman, but that's just me on my fan stuff. I understand that this is James's and he's gonna run with it. I'm just very concerned that he's moving too fast. Very few things get done right when you're doing them fast. What we learned from when we're little kids is slow down, take your time, plan it out. I remember in math class, man, I don't know if you guys are like really good at math, or if you ever solve something where you finally get the formula, when you're doing those equations and you start cooking, like, oh yeah, you're like in the zone, just putting the numbers down, bam, 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 minus the, and you're just cooking till you get to the result. But when you do it too fast, one simple mistake messes the whole equation up. And it's not because you didn't know it, because you know all of this. It's because you moved too fast, you missed a step, and now your whole thing is messed up. So I'm not saying that James don't know what he's doing. Maybe take some time, ease up, slow down, and then let's try to make some sort of a plan. Some sort. Because it's obvious there's no real plan here. We're just duck hunting. We're duck hunting right now. And I'm not saying that you can't duck hunt, but I'm saying you have to earn the ability to duck hunt. Kevin Feige wasn't duck hunting in MCU phase 1 nor phase 2. He didn't start to duck hunt until like phase 4, phase 5. You know what I'm saying? That's when things, and what happens when Feige started to duck hunt? I'm not talking about Black Panther, Civil War, Endgame, Infinity War. After Endgame, what happened when Feige didn't do a plan and he was just like releasing movies? Your Eternals, your Shang-Chi, your Black Widow, your Ant-Man Quantumania, your Thor Love and Trash, your Wakanda Forever. What happened when he started to duck hunt? MCU did this. All I'm saying, just because you have the talent doesn't mean that you won't do this. And I don't want James Gunn to do this because he has my DC. I need DC to do this. So if you have these characters, you got this time, take the time, bro. That's all I'm saying, bro. You moving too fast, dog. You have a 60-page treatment already written. He wrote it in like a week. I remember when he said, I'm about to start working on it. And then he was like, I'm done. Wait, what? Now I gotta do is put it into a script. Huh? The problem with Superman is that the script was whack. And judging based off of how fast he's writing the sequel script, is gonna be whack too. You better hit up David Cornswet, and somebody else got to get in your ear, man, to tell you to slow the freak down. There's no rush. We got Supergirl coming out next year. We have Clayface as well coming out next year. Your Peacemaker's about to come out in a couple of weeks. Slow this thing down. Green Lantern's about to come out on Max. Let's see what we got, and let's go with the plan. If you don't want to do Booster Gold and Waller and the Authority, I'm Sergeant Rock, I'm all for it, because none of that needs to come out anyway. That could go to the birds. That's something that comes out after you're already established. It's really crazy to me. That chapter 1 Gods and Monsters slate that he announced 2 years ago is kind of whack when you think about it looking back. Some of those are great. Most of that is like, dude, why are you slating things like this is phase 4 of the DCU? This is phase 1. We need to see Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lanterns, Flash. We need to see the League being developed. So I hope he understands that. Take your time and do it right. Let me know what you guys feel in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Hit the subscribe button. And don't forget, if you want to see that reaction to that David Cornswet fight, it's in the description down below. I'm Jody Joe. I'm out.